Senator from Virginia.
Mr. President, I rise today in support of my colleagues, Senator Heinrich and Senator Kane's resolution, and I appreciate on the part of their presentations, but I strongly support this resolution and want to also acknowledge one of the many reasons we vote for this resolution is because it's also Senator Kane's birthday, and I think nothing would be a better birthday present for my friend of 45 years, than having this body make a firm statement about being against rising utility costs. Their resolution, and I know they've spoken on it both extensively, would repeal President Trump's flawed and misguided national emergency declaration. Now, we all know on the first day, in the midst of signing Lord knows how many executive orders, President Trump declared a, quote, national energy emergency and issued an executive order titled Unleashing American Energy. Now, let me be clear. I, frankly, have some fights on this side of the aisle, Mr. President, because I actually support all of the above in terms of our energy mix. You know, part of that does mean LNG and national security reasons to make sure we ship it to our partners in Europe. It also means we need to bring more of these energy jobs back here to America. Had a fascinating presentation yesterday with the CEO of Commonwealth Fusion. I said Commonwealth Fusion is a company out of Massachusetts, but they're making a major development in Virginia. We've been talking about fusion since the 70s. Those kind of jobs ought to be here in America, and they can provide an abundance of energy. But if you actually read the President's executive order, you'll see he's not really about promoting energy security. He's interested in, frankly, only favoring certain parts of the energy sector. And I think that's a huge mistake. I have the honor of have been the chair of the Intelligence Committee, now the vice chair of the Intelligence Committee. And I think one of the things we've tried to do on the Intelligence Committee is redefine national security so it's not simply who has the most tanks and guns, but who wins the battle for technology. And if we're going to win the battle for technology, and particularly in AI, that is going to require enormous amounts of additional energy in the United States. And it is terribly important that the United States remain in its role now as being the world's energy leader. But the truth is, China has also made this kind of commitment. And in certain ways, China, although they're still using many times coal-based power, they've made massive investments in renewable energy. Today, China is the world's top supplier of long-duration energy storage batteries, solar panels, and wind turbines. Just last year, China added 357 gigawatts of solar and wind generation. That's nearly 100 more gigawatts of renewable energy than the U.S. added. That's why Congress said we got to catch up. And in a very bipartisan way, with both the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act and the Inflation Reduction Act, made a record set of investments to incentivize the build-out of a 21st century energy economy here in the United States so we can actually beat China in these fields. Unfortunately, the President, through his quote-unquote Unleashing American Energy executive order, is actually attempting to rein in or potentially reverse much of the progress that's been made. His executive order actually calls for the pause of any disbursement of funds lawfully appropriated and obligated by the Inflation Reduction Act or the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. Now, that unlawful withholding of funds, which already has been rejected by the courts, and I know my colleague from Virginia has already said this, really jeopardizes a whole lot of large-scale manufacturing projects around the country. And I don't know if Senator Kane mentioned, but a number of those projects are in Virginia. We've worked years with our Republican governor to try to get these projects funded. and they include things in solar, in wind, that are extraordinarily important. And they were funded because they would support this growth of American energy. Now, good gracious, they printed this on both sides of the paper. So I will cut to the chase, though. The fact is, what President Trump did on that first day, by putting out this executive order, which denies the fact that America is already the energy leader in the world. We need to make additional investments in cutting-edge additional energies, where China is making these investments: solar, wind, battery. I'm a big advocate for small modular nukes, both fission and fusion, which I've talked about. And a lot of that comes from funding from the infrastructure bill and the IRA. Why in the heck would we put a halt on all of that? Why in the heck would we cut back on cutting-edge energy investment in the United States? Why would we cut back on American energy jobs? I'm all for the natural gas jobs that are coming out of the presiding officer state. I'm all for all of the above. Why restrain us, though, in areas where we've got some catching up to do? I think about fusion again. We're going to spend about $800 million, hopefully, in some of this legislation. China's spending about twice that amount. So if we want to truly create the ample sources of energy that is needed in the United States, if we want those jobs to be in America, if we want to think about a national security regime where we are the leader in the world in cutting-edge energy, then we have to support Senator Kaine and Senator Heinrich's resolution to overturn this phony national energy emergency. If we don't, and we give up on these projects that have been vetted, some for years, then we, frankly, are going to allow our national security to fall behind China. Because I can assure you, I get classified briefs on a regular basis. China is not giving up in investment in all these new domains. China is pedal to the metal on the all of the above energy strategy. That should be our strategy as well. And I urge all my colleagues to support Senator Kaine and Senator Heinrich's resolution. And I look forward to that vote later today. With that, Mr. President, I yield the floor and note the absence of a quorum.
Clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Also Brooks.